Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Saints and Falcons both need to win, need some help if they're going to get into the postseason. Our buddy Mark Zinno joins us 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. You hear him on ESPN Radio as well. Does great work as a betting analyst on a lot of different platforms. He's on Twitter at Mark Zinno, and he's a great guy because he's a Yankee fan. Zinno, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How about you? Well, listen, I'm doing well. I don't think the city of Atlanta likes me much right now. I am probably public enemy number one because I may be the only guy in the city who doesn't want Arthur Smith fired. But
okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Why?
Because their problems are not his fault. Like, this is not really hard. It's not really hard to figure this out, guys. Like, I can't convince the jabronis in this town, like, what they're watching is not an issue of coaching. It's an issue of quarterback. Like, the same thing is happening to you guys. It's not an issue. Dennis Allen's biggest problem isn't anything other than his quarterback state.
Zinno, we got a much larger sample size than Dennis Allen to know he ain't a head coach, man. The quarterback stinks. I'm with you. Quarterback stinks.
You're right on that. But my point simply is that, like, look, I keep telling people the biggest comp is it's the Houston Texans. Like, do we really believe D'Amico Ryans is this, like, incredible coach that all of a sudden knows how to turn around programs? No, he got a quarterback that can play. It's not that hard to figure out. Like, Arthur Smith is not the Falcons' problem. I can sit here and tell you, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's been great. I think he's had some issues in the red zone. I think he's had some issues, in other areas. But for the most part, like, this is an execution issue. Like, this entire city has abdicated these players of any responsibility whatsoever. So the idea that you call a play against Carolina, which the quarterback has two options: tuck the ball and run, or throw it out of the back of the end zone, and your quarterback decides to throw it right into the hands of another player. Yet somehow that's the coach's fault. I can't understand it. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. So this isn't about Arthur Smith and his ability to coach, because this is a team that's gained 400 yards in 8 games. Matt, that doesn't happen by luck. Like, there's no way you could sit there and tell me that this is a team that got lucky, in 8 games and put up 400 yards of offense. Like, the fact of the matter is yards matter, because you can't get points without yards, right? Like, you just can't score if you don't move the ball down the field. So the point simply is that these folks just want him fired for the sake of being fired and think it's going to fix everything. When in reality, if you don't fix the quarterback position, it doesn't matter who you bring in here next year, because you're still going to be dealing with the same issues.
Okay, fair. Is Taylor Heineke going to start on Sunday?
We're playing coy with this, and I don't really know why. Honestly, does it matter? Like, does it honestly matter who starts in the Falcons?
Probably.
At some point in time, listen, believe it or not, like, I don't think you can go back to Ritter just because of the optics of it, but in reality, he's still better than Heineke. And I tried to convince Falcons fans of this about week 6 and week 7 when they were screaming for Heineke to come and start. I'm like, guys, Heineke's not any good. Like, he was never any good. Like, there's not a sample set that tells you he's good. So you can keep screaming for him to start, but you're going to get the same exact results, if not worse. And we saw that on Sunday in a game where they needed him to win, and he played absolutely terrible and threw 3 picks. So I'm not sure it really matters who starts. At some point, whoever's under center for the Falcons is going to make a terrible mistake and throw a ball in a terrible position that likely should be picked. The question is, will it be picked?
You look back to the first game with the Saints and Falcons, and that might be the worst game the Saints played all year. It's one of those where you look back and you go, how in the world did you lose that game? But they did, because the Saints aren't a good team either. So in a battle of two teams that just can't decide if they want to be good or terrible, what's the matchup that you look at in this game and say that's probably the thing to watch?
The Falcons can run the ball, they're going to be fine. If they can get some consistency in the run game, they should be fine overall, because that'll at least get them in a position where they can ask their quarterback to do less. Right? It's kind of like that scene from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. No, do less, right? Like, that's what we want from the quarterback. Do less. We just want you to do less. Yeah. No, now you're doing nothing. Well, that's actually better than what they would be if they were actually trying to do something. So, that's the one thing that can really help them, is that they're going to keep themselves in third and manageable, and they're not going to put their quarterback in a situation where he's going to have to make a dynamic play. Look, this is a game, obviously, that matters more for optics, I think, for Falcons than anything else. Yes, they could get lucky, and Tampa Bay, Carolina could pull out a win against Tampa Bay. I don't necessarily know that really changed anything other than, in the big picture, it's almost like I want the Falcons to win, but I don't want them to make the playoffs because a win would pretty much kind of secure that Arthur Smith is coming back, and I think he should be coming back. But making the playoffs all of a sudden takes you from like 13th or 14th in the draft to 20th.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the real difference. Like you're going to finish 7 or 8 and 9, and you're going to end up picking 20th, and that's a real problem because then if you'd like to move up and get draft capital, now all of a sudden the price has changed. So it's really a weird spot if the Falcons end up making the playoffs here and Tampa Bay ends up choking this thing away. Which, by the way, somebody explained Baker Mayfield. Like, I mean, you know what's going to happen? Let me predict the future for you here and write this down for all the audience. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to make the playoffs, and Tampa Bay is going to be stupid enough, and I stress the word stupid, to extend him to a long-term deal. When we've seen this before from Baker. Remember the Freddie Kitchens experiment where he looked, he was great, he broke the rookie touchdown passing record and everything else, and then what happened after he played the next couple of years? You know what you found out? He's not that good. So you can't take this lightning in the bottle from Baker Mayfield and expect it to work over the next 3 or 4 years because guess what? He's not that good. And so I hope Tampa makes that mistake, but they are an organization that's dumb enough to extend him. What you do is you let him walk and you go get somebody else. Like, that's really the smart thing to do. But, again, who knows with Tampa what they're going to do in their front office. So if they extend him, I will just laugh myself senseless because he's not that good.
I don't know, Zinno. Maybe good coaching is maximizing Baker Mayfield. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Todd Bowles has been the secret coaching elixir we've all been looking for years. Just ask the Jets how well that worked out.
I couldn't even say it.
Todd Bowles is exactly what we've been waiting for. That's going to fix all of our problems. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
I couldn't even say
Even Todd Bowles can go to the playoffs with above-average quarterback play. Like, I mean, it's that simple. Like, just look around. Like, Todd Bowles is going to go to the playoffs because his quarterback is playing out of his mind, and teams like the Packers made Baker Mayfield look like Joe Montana. Like, I don't understand. Like, Dennis Allen, I think, is a bad coach, right? Like, objectively, I just think he's a bad coach. Mm-hmm. And like you said, I think the sample size is there to prove that he has been a bad coach. But, I mean, if Derek Carr was any good, and Derek Carr had played to somewhat of a level like you thought he was going to play at some point, and this team, that defense was good enough to win you 10, 11 games.
For sure.
Like, I don't think there's any debating of that. So your quarterback play and your offense has been absolutely atrocious, and that's really what's kept the Saints from doing anything noteworthy this year because the defense has played pretty well, but when you can only score 18, 19 points a game, it's always going to look ugly.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, Saints blew a 17-0 lead in the fourth quarter at Green Bay, and they were 0 for 5 in the red zone in Atlanta. I mean, those two right there, you're at 10 wins, you've already won the division. It's that simple. Yeah, it really is. The defense hasn't been great, but they've been good enough. You just haven't been good enough on offense, and that's been a combination of a lot of things, including Derek Carr. So what do you think on Sunday, man? I mean, this series it's always unpredictable with the Saints and the Falcons, and you have two teams that they're both just hovering right here at 500 because neither one can figure out a way if they want to be good. So what do you think about Sunday?
Who wants it less? Typically in spots like this when I'm getting 3.5, I'm just going to take it just because of the number. But, again, I would take a first half under because, like you said, both of these teams stink and they're not going to score. And their offenses are inept at this point in time. And so unless something freaky happens where you get a special teams touchdown or like a defensive touchdown somehow, guess what? Ain't nobody scoring. Ain't no offense doing anything exciting on this Sunday. I mean, it's just, So that's probably the way I would play it from a betting angle. I mean, again, I would tell you this much. If the Saints somehow come out and blow out the Falcons and make it embarrassing, Arthur Blank is as sensitive an owner as there is. He's like a little girl with a skin knee. And he just, he gets wound up about the optics of this whole thing, and he doesn't need to. David Tepper's throwing drinks on people, and Arthur Smith is worried about what he's reading on Twitter or Arthur Blank's worried about what he's reading on Twitter for crying out loud. Like, you guys got to grow a pair and grow up here. Like, this is big boy, business here. So I say all that to say that if that happens for the Saints and they end up blowing out the Falcons, it could be the death knell for Arthur Smith, just because the optics of it are not pleasant for the owner of the team. So again, I don't know who wins. I honestly don't. I would just take the 3.5, take the first half under. Your guess is as good as mine who actually wins this game.
By the way, Zinno, first half total right now 21.5 for.
Get the under. Get that. Yeah, absolutely. Get at that. get at that rate. They're not scoring 3 touchdowns in the first half, not without help from special teams and defense.
The Saints last year in Week 18 at home against Carolina, that game finished 10-7. Divisional unders have been huge, and that's actually really good. It's a very salient thought there, Zinno. Just forget about the game. Just take the 3.5 and bet the first half under, and hope you cash a ticket. Maybe it might bring some joy to Saints and Falcons fans this weekend.
That's it. I mean, listen, if you don't care about the outcome, just bet the first half so you don't even have to watch the second half. Right? You don't have to sit through the agony of 3 hours and just get out of there in the first half. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bet the first half, turn the game off, and not really give a rip.
He's on Twitter at Mark Zinno. Give him a follow. 92.9 The Game there in Atlanta. You're the best. Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Matty. Enjoy the game.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.